Hey guys, Mr. O'Brien here. So for this video, we're going to be focusing on part 3 of topic 4, which is homeostasis and transport. So part 3 is looking at the membrane-bound organelles that help facilitate the transport of materials within a cell. So we're going to describe how this membrane cell organelle system facilitates and moves things in and out of the cell. So sometimes you may see this as the endomembrane system. Again, we're talking about the same thing, but again, just another way to say it. So again, we're going to focus on everything that starts in the nucleus, the rough ER, the smooth ER, the Golgi apparatus, vesicles, and we're going to see how our body, our cell, moves things out and in to communicate with other cells. Now, the first structure we got to focus on is the nucleus. So the nucleus is really important because it contains all of our genetic information. It contains genetic information of the cell stored as chromosomes made up of DNA. So when we're talking about a chromosome, we're looking at these really they're like coiled DNA, and in our cells they look like X's. Okay, so this is a replicated chromosome. Again, one half of this is your genetic information. A lot of times you see it as this X structure. So the DNA holds all of the instructions the cell needs to survive. Everything about you, all the instructions just to make saliva or to make blood, to make antibodies, everything is contained inside of this DNA. Now, the DNA contains our genetic code that specifies the order that amino acids should be placed to make proteins. So remember, amino acids are just simply monomers of proteins. And proteins are the polymer, and they pretty much control our entire body. Again, nucleus stores our genetic information. Now, moving forward here from the nucleus, the next thing that our body is going to encounter after we send out the instructions to make proteins is the endoplasmic reticulum. So here is our nucleus right here, okay, the purple region, and associated with the nucleus just outside of it is our endoplasmic reticulum. Now we have two types. We have the rough and we have the smooth. Notice how the rough has all these dots on it. Pretty much those are ribosomes, which actually make our proteins in our body. And then we have the smooth, which have no ribosomes attached. They make the chromosomes and the lipids. So the endoplasmic reticulum is involved in the production of materials, and it ships them within the cell. So that's key there. It ships things within the cell, but it also ships things out of this, or it ships things to different locations. It also makes things. So this organelle is attached to the nucleus. So again, two types, smooth ER, no ribosomes attached. It is involved in the production of lipids and the detoxification of proteins. Again, no ribosomes are found here. Now, the rough ER modifies those proteins on these dots called ribosomes. And again, all the reason that they're called rough is because of these ribosomes. It gives it a rough or bumpy appearance. Now, what these ribosomes do is they are where proteins are produced from the instructions in the DNA. In other words, what happens is in the nucleus, there is DNA. That DNA is converted to RNA to leave the nucleus, and then that RNA goes to the ribosomes. Now, once it gets to the ribosomes, it is produced into proteins for our body to use. Now, ribosomes are found in two locations. They're found free floating in the cytoplasm, as well as attached to the rough endoplasmic reticulum. But the key here is they make proteins. They are like a factory inside of our body that produce things so that we can survive and live. So again, now that we've gone away from the endoplasmic reticulum, we have another structure that ships things called the Golgi apparatus. Now, the Golgi apparatus ships things out of the cell. They send things out. And again, the Golgi apparatus or Golgi bodies, you can see it either way, receives proteins from the rough endoplasmic reticulum and sorts and packages them into vesicles. Now, vesicles, as you can see right here, like our lysosomes or any other vesicles, they're pretty much like vehicles that are able to transport things inside as well as ship things out of the cell. So again, the Golgi apparatus produces these vesicles to move things out of the cell and to communicate with cells outside. Now, one thing that you might not think of in the endomembrane system is actually the mitochondria. So the reason that the mitochondria is important for the endomembrane system is all this movement of molecules requires ATP. And again, ATP is our energy molecule. So the mitochondria is important because it is the organelle that produces this ATP, which is required for active transport, like endocytosis and exocytosis. Again, ATP is cellular currency. It provides all of the energy needed to perform every task that we have in our cells. So vesicles, like we talked about in the Golgi apparatus, ship things, okay? So vesicles go from the rough ER to the Golgi apparatus and from the Golgi apparatus outside of the cell. So here's a vesicle. It's just a sphere of phospholipid bilayer that surrounds whatever it's shipping or modifies. So vesicles are organelles, and they are small enclosed sacs that can transport and store substances within a cell from one cell to another. So vesicles are an integral part of the transport of materials in and out of the cell. Without them, they would just kind of be freely floating throughout the entire cell cytoplasm and outside the cell. So again, the key is, the way that I remember this is vesicles are the vehicles, okay? They help ship things, they help move things throughout the cell. So transport vesicles are really important because while proteins are created and modified by the endoplasmic reticulum, they are picked up by the vesicles and moved to the Golgi apparatus where they can be modified and refined a little bit more so that they have the perfect shape for your body to use. Again, transport vesicles like this one right here and this one right here, again, moving and modifying those proteins. Now, organelles are really important when we're talking about cells, and it's really important to kind of remember each one of these. So what we want to do is just kind of find each one of these inside of this structure right here. So our nucleus would be number 2. So that would be located right here. Again, this is where our DNA is stored inside of the cell and what controls everything about us. So ribosomes, I believe what they're pointing to is number 3 here. So the ribosomes are every single one of these dots on the outside of the rough endoplasmic reticulum. So remember, smooth ER is the ones that don't have dots on it. So again, here's the whole structure here is the endoplasmic reticulum. Number 8 would be our smooth ER because there are no ribosomes attached. So the rough ER would be number 5. So again, smooth ER, rough ER would be this entire structure right here because of the dots. Remember, the rough ER produces proteins, the smooth ER produces lipids and carbohydrates. Golgi apparatus kind of looks like smushed pancakes, and that's number 6. Remember, this is where the proteins are sent to via vesicles for the final modification where things are shipped out of the cell. So vesicles, remember, are these movement or vehicles. That's number 4. You can see them right here as well as right here. Again, they're just kind of spheres of proteins and other structures. And finally, we have the mitochondria. Again, this is where our ATP is produced. In other words, the energy for the cell to perform all of these tasks. So let's look at the steps of protein production. Okay, so again, we've been talking about proteins and how we needed to ship them and how they control all these structures. So the code for the production of a particular protein is found in the chromosome, which are located in the nucleus. So our information starts in the nucleus. That information is then sent to the ribosomes where our proteins are produced. Those proteins are then modified in the rough endoplasmic reticulum, where they're put into a vesicle and transported to a Golgi apparatus, where the final modification occurs and they are shipped out of the cell via vesicles. So let's label the steps that we have here. Again, remember, when we're looking at this, we're looking at the order. So again, everything starts inside of the nucleus. Again, this is where our DNA is stored. So the information from the nucleus is transported into RNA and is sent to the rough ER. And the rough ER has ribosomes attached where this information is turned into proteins. Once it is produced, it's sent into a vesicle and sent to the Golgi apparatus, where the final modification occurs and it's shipped out of the cell via a vesicle. And that vesicle then goes and attaches to the plasma membrane and is shipped outside of the cell. So again, nucleus, rough ER, ribosomes, Golgi apparatus, vesicles, and plasma membrane. So hopefully this helps you out. Again, the endomembrane system is a very important mechanism of shipping things inside and outside the cell. Again, they help us maintain homeostasis. So again, this is part 3 of your topic 4 video. Hopefully this helps you out. This is Mr. O'Brien signing off.